Ty Jerome signed his contract out of the biannual vet minimum, which means they still have $3.6 million left to use on the mid-level exception. So with that question, I ask you guys this. The Cavs are $2.7 million away from the luxury tax threshold. Do you think they are done making moves this offseason?
I'll start with you, Jason. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think they're done making any moves of significance. It would take another wacky sign and trade, which I guess is possible, but I think that they are pretty much.
Let me ask you this. With the sign and trade,
Yeah.
you could go over the cap without paying the tax?
No.
Oh.
No. With a sign and trade just allows you to pay a person more money.
Okay.
But it still counts against your total tax number.
So they'd still go over the luxury tax?
Well, unless they can match up enough salaries to keep them out of the tax.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, okay.
They're
so
not
like
going
to bring
be
in Strus, they traded Jetty so they could make the salary work.
Right, exactly. So they're not going to be a tax-paying team this year. They should not be. I don't think they should. I think it's the right move to wait another year. And I've said it before, if you're going to go into the tax, you don't want to go into the tax by $1 million.
Right.
Now, you could sign someone that you don't pay the tax, and you're not technically a tax-paying team till the end of the year.
Right.
So you can make a move now and then have the trade deadline to try and get yourself out of the tax.
That's risky, though.
It's hard to do that because teams know what you're doing and the price goes up to dump money at that point. So it is possible to go into the tax now and then get out of the tax by the trade deadline, but it is very risky, and it's teams have done it.
Yeah.
Plenty of teams have done it over the years.
Is Kevin Love's money still on the books for this year?
No.
Because it was a buyout, it's gone.
Well, last year was his last year.
was his last year.
That was his last year of his deal.
So who else is coming off the books at the end of this year?
At the end of this year?
Yeah.
I don't know if there really
Give
is
me
any
one sec.
big dollar. I don't think there is any big
What
dollar.
was Levert's Levert?
Levert was 2 years.
2 years.
So they're trying to keep everything clean by the end. They want everything, I think, to end.
For Mobley.
I need to look. But yeah, when Mobley signs his big extension is when they are a tax-paying team.
Which is in 2 years?
He has, I think his extension kicks in when Levert's comes off. I think, but I'd have to look at the numbers. I don't know off the top of my head.
And Donovan Mitchell has 2 years left, correct?
Donovan, all right, you're throwing us. Let me make
Sorry,
sure I get this
go
straight.
ahead, Mike. Check
Donovan
this out.
has 2 years of control and then a player option year.
Right, which he'll opt out of.
I would imagine
Unless
he
he
would
gets hurt or
opt out.
something
Yeah, I would
weird
imagine so he has 2 years of team control left.
So, is it fair to say? Would you say there's less than a 20% chance Donovan Mitchell is on the Cavs for the 24-25 season?
Less than a 20. That's a lot of numbers. Less than a 20% chance. 2 years from now?
Yes.
I'd say it's less than 50. But I won't say less than 20.
Okay, so
but I think it's
there's a
like it depends on how this year goes. This is a massive year. If they get to the conference finals and they're rolling and they feel good about where they're at and he feels good about everything around him, yeah, he could stay for sure.
Okay.
And then I think you need to have technically he could sign an extension now. He's not going to, but he could.
Right.
But, if next year goes well, you can have that conversation with him and maybe you tear up the last bit on his deal and you get him to sign a new deal.
Could you have max deals with? I mean, I guess you'd be gone from Allen at that point.
Once they're in your house,
you can do that.
You can do whatever you want.
So Mike, how many years does Allen have left on his contract?
Jarrett Allen has.
He signed.
He has this season and then 2 more.
2 more.
Well, he has this season, the following season, and then the following season. So 2 more after this year, correct?
So in theory, they could be paying max contracts in 2 years to Mobley, Garland, Mitchell, and still be paying Allen $20 million.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter.
It doesn't
because
matter.
they're their own guys.
Once you're in house, you can pay these guys whatever you want to keep them, and they will be an exorbitant tax-paying team.
Right.
But that's okay.
Well, it's okay if they're competing for a championship.
Right, and they're willing to pay it. They're willing. And then when you get to the repeat offender stuff, that's when you got really hard decisions to make. And the Cavs get screwed, and the thing that could stop all of this is that second tier of tax-paying teams. And I don't know. It's too early to say what that number is going to be and how that would impact them down the road. But that second threshold is teams are trying to stay away from that at all costs. So that could be prohibitive to what they're trying to do. But in terms of you can sign them to whatever deal you want once they're in-house. Extension-wise.
G, you think they're going to spend money on a player right now?
No. They're not going to spend no money on no player. And, frankly, unless it's some blockbuster deal that's going to put them over the top, that just not going to come around every once in a blue moon. I don't see anybody on the market that'll really make that much of a difference. So I think they'll stay pat. And, right now, this is the time period where you're hoping there's a level of development, right? I look at Garland and I look at Mobley, right? The development period is for those guys to come with something different in their game. People laugh and joke all the time. You say Isaiah Mobley, where he get that game from? But his brother got to have that. His brother got to have a renaissance, because at this point, you went out and made the move for Donovan Mitchell. Now the guys that you have identified and hit on, it's time for them to make the strides in their individual personal game, and so you look to see if Darius Garland comes back and he's more efficient. I would like to see Darius Garland. People talk about Mobley. I like to see Darius Garland put a couple pounds of muscle on too. He's slider frame. The whole first part of the year, he got knocked around, starting against Toronto. So, I would like to see Jared Allen. He's a wiry guy. There's no reason Jared Allen should not be coming back 5 to 10 pounds heavier. Like he's not a shooter. He looks like, okay, that frame, he could put 5'10" on. I believe that he should be coming back a little bit stronger and a little bit tougher. And I don't even need him to work on his regular game. I need him to be working with the sports psychologist. I need him to be working with some people to say, look, man, you're a guy that played in Brooklyn before. What do you mean the lights is too bright? You're in Cleveland. This light. This not the Knicks. So he need to go through and try to figure out what's going on with that. And then, for Donovan Mitchell, he had one of the best years of his career here in Cleveland. But
until it mattered.
You got to, at some point in time, you got to look at yourself and be like, look, if I'm that guy, why would and by the way, he wants to go to New York, but Jalen Brunson is doing all right. He's doing all right. They got people out there. You see what I'm saying? They got guys that is performing now. For him to hit that next level, he got to, it's hard, because I think him, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, the younger guys in that little middling era, none of them have broken through. If you look at who's been at the top of the food chain for years, it's still the Kevin Durant's, it's still the LeBrons. Jokic is an older player, but somebody got to win something for them to break through. And I think jumping from team to team ain't really going to do you no good, because if Donovan Mitchell go to New York, they're not going to be no favorite to win nothing. I'm not picking the Knicks if he go to New York in 2 years. So
I guess it depends what the rest of the East looks
depends
like
on what it looked like
at that time. Jason, have you heard anything about players conditioning this offseason? Any rumblings about that at all?
Conditioning?
Is Mobley working on putting on weight? Is Garland getting bigger?
I haven't checked into that.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll get those stories when everyone's in the best shape of their life. This guy put on 15. It's the best shape of the life season in October. I don't really pay much.
The best shape of your life season? That's hilarious.
That's everybody talks about that in the preseason and the weight that they put on, the diet and changes.
And the only person that really come back looking different is LeBron.
You know what I want Mobley to do? Fix your shot. I don't care. He does need to get bigger. Yeah. I'm talking Evan. I'm not Isaiah. Evan needs to get bigger and stronger for sure.
You got to differentiate that now, because Isaiah.
Well, because you keep talking about Isaiah. You're the only one. You keep talking about. But Evan needs to fix the shot. Yeah. That's what I want. That's what I hope he's working on. I'm sure he is working on. If he's got to take a step as a shooter next year.
Mike?
Chris Fedor put out an article in Cleveland.com as 2 potential guys that Cavs may still have interest in, who are still available on the free agency market. That's Kelly Oubre Jr., the athletic wing from Charlotte, and Christian Wood, the stretch 4/5 out of Dallas. Assuming either of those two would be willing to take a major pay cut and a discount on a short 1-year deal for $3-ish million to fit under the luxury tax. Would you guys have any interest in either of those two?
Mike, why don't you tell the folks what you said to us about both of those guys, the concerns with both of those guys?
Yeah, I mean, if I asked myself that question, I would say no. I don't think either's a great fit. Dallas traded legitimate assets to get Christian Wood this past season, had him for 1 year, and we're like, yeah, no, we're okay. You could walk
Yeah.
away for nothing. That to me is the ultimate
Very telling.
telling sign exactly. And I don't think, even though his skill set theoretically fits pretty well next to Mobley and/or Jared Allen, I just don't trust a guy like that who had a team give up things for him, have him in house at a position of desperate need, and then just be like, nah, you're okay. You can walk in free agency. And Kelly, I just don't love the fit. He's a non-shooting three. He's better than Okoro. Don't get me wrong, but I just don't trust his ability. He's been on 4 teams now in 6 years, and he's been on a couple good teams.
That's a bad sign.
And he hasn't stuck on the good teams. He scored 20 points last year in Charlotte. They had 3 players average 20 points per game. Someone had to score on that team. I don't think it's a great fit. I don't think he'd take $3 million either, but even if he would, I don't really like either of those two as truly beneficial upgrades. Yeah, is he better than Okoro? Maybe, but I just don't think it makes the Cavs any better.
What about, a couple of weeks ago we talked about Bridges. Which is the Bridges that was suspended all of last year?
Miles Bridges. who
Miles Bridges.
Renegotiated with Charlotte.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Okay, well, then that's not the one.
And again, you don't have to sign him for $3 million. You can sign him for more and execute some sort of sign and trade with Charlotte for Oubre, say. But and I was trying to pull up a salary like Ricky Rubio, $6 million. 6? I can't read my own.
Would you
Yeah,
rather
6.
have Rubio or Oubre?
I don't know. What's Rubio look like? The Rubio of last year, I guess I'd take Oubre.
Yeah.
But they still need a backup point guard.
Right, and I
That
mean,
can
I know
play
he's
at a high level
older,
with a
but he
veteran.
was before he got
but
hurt.
I'm
you
just
think
throwing-
2 years later now.
Yeah, I'm just throwing a name out of like
Yeah, no,
that's how you do a sign and trade.
Right.
But then you got to give Charlotte they're out of trade assets, so now
Yeah.
you got to give Charlotte. If Charlotte really want a second round pick to take on $6 billion to Ricky Rubio, if they feel like they could flip him and get something else for him, maybe. But that's how you sort of
Right.
execute a sign and trade, and that's how you wind up paying guys more than just the $3 million that you have left slotted. You can get creative with it. I just don't think it's realistic for where
Right.
they're at.
What do you think the chances are that Ricky Rubio can be the player we saw the first half of 2 seasons ago?
I don't think that's gone.
That's gone.
But I think he can be better than what he showed you last year. Like, there's a lot of room in between
That's
where
true.
he was and 2 years ago and where he was last year. There's quite a bit of a gap in there. So I do think that he can help this team. Like a veteran backup point guard who doesn't need the ball in his hands to produce, is exactly what because they've got 2 ball-dominant guards now. If you've got Ricky who can come in and give these guys a blow and can distribute and knows how to run the offense, that could be a really nice weapon if he's right. And
Yeah.
I just he was so bad last year.
Yeah.
Like I went in last year thinking, all right, well, it's going to take him a year, whatever.
Right.
But he was so bad last year that it does make you question whether he's got anything
Like,
left.
has he gone off the cliff?
I mean,
has that injury pushed him off the
We'll
cliff?
know.
Yeah.
We'll know fairly early on
Right.
this year.
I mean, he's torn his ACL twice,
Twice.
right? And when you tear it and you in your 30s, that's different. Like
It's a short list of guys who've been able to come back from that.
because basically what you do is you lose all explosiveness. So like if you're a guard and you're depending on getting by people, you got a guard, you're doing a lot of switching on the top of the perimeter. That's rough, man. I don't know if he got nothing left, but I know they got a shooter somewhere. Sam Merrill, where you at, dog? Can they hide him defensively? Sam Merrill, what's up, baby?
Speaking of end
Get
of the
ready.
Speaking of end of the bench guys who you can get for very little money, the Cavs bring Lamar Stevens back after he got cut.
I wouldn't hate that. Although there might be a rule.
There used to be a rule, right? If you
It was
trade
the
a guy,
Zadrunas rule.
Yeah, because the Cavs was doing that every week.
I think he's off limits to them for a year.
oh, okay.
I think.
Or was it the Verjao? They was
No, it was Zadrunas because they traded Zadrunas to get Antoine Jameson. Washington bought him out, and he came right back.
Right.
And after that is when they
Why
redid
would
the
they?
rule.
But like, who cares?
Because it was happening quite a bit.
But so what? It's only happening with not great players, right?
Now the league frowned upon because it was like the Cavs got Jameson for nothing.
nothing,
right, yeah,
Or a
for
first
free.
round. I think they gave him a first round pick.
Like,
too.
it's
That's
like
not nothing.
That's not nothing.
Well, the new rule should be called the Otani, because I sure would do that. I would tell him, I'm gonna give you $750 million. We gonna trade you for these prospects. See what I did there, Kyler Cowher?
Yeah.
I didn't say picks. I said prospects. Hey, I'm gonna trade you for a bunch of AA guys, and we gonna get a full farm system, and then you gonna come back for $750. Now the thing is, somebody might just like the Dodgers might be like, nah, we're not going out without that. Like, so we might offer him $1 billion.
Yeah.
I don't think it's getting to $1 billion, but he is going to get.
He's worth every penny he gets.
Once you I think I agree with the idea of trading him because I don't think he's coming back. But once you trade him, it's really hard to get that guy to come back.
Right.
It's a Carlos Boozer situation where you're taking a guy at his word or whatever.
But I wonder how often teams have traded guys in that situation and then tried to get them back.
Dude,
I mean, I don't know.
Well,
in
they
baseball.
definitely did with Boozer, right? That's for sure.
No, but
Well, Boozer was different. Boozer wasn't a trade. They
was like a
actually
restricted,
it was
right?
actually illegal. What the Cavs did was basically illegal.
Yeah.
And they let him out of this contract to restructure. I don't remember all the details. I was talking to someone about that a few months ago, and basically they knew right away, as soon as they let him out of the deal, they knew they were screwed. That he had no this was.
He just lied.
He just lied to them.
Yeah.
He just lied to them.
But in terms of baseball, obviously we saw it with Chapman. The Yankees traded him to the Cubs. Mm-hmm. The Cubs didn't try to re-sign him, and the Yankees brought him back. I wonder, though.
That's the exception. That's
right,
not
but
the
I
norm.
wonder how often teams have tried to do that, and then the guy was like, "No, you traded me."
Or no, they literally go to him and be like, "Listen, this is what we're trying to do.
but we want to re-sign you
We-
after."
we gonna-
I'm guessing that hasn't happened.
Here's
much.
the thing. Players don't trust teams, and teams don't trust players.